Hey guys, All the Way with Alloway here at the Tribeca International Film Festival with Jesse Zwick, the writer-director of the film About Alex. So you had your premiere last night, and you got up in front and you're like, this theater is so big, but it was packed and people were lining up outside the block. So how did that feel to premiere your movie at Tribeca?
It was kind of unreal. I mean, it was beyond my wildest expectations for what would happen with this project, and I think Tribeca was the perfect place for it because we shot in New York, we did our post-production in New York. It very much has its roots here, and it's an amazing festival, and they were willing to give us this big billing, and I couldn't believe it when we had a sold-out house of 900 people. It was very overwhelming and a little bit scary to get up there, but I think it played really well, so I'm really happy.
So I also love that you cast primarily TV actors, and it was really nice to see them on the big screen doing something sort of different from what we sort of always see Max Greenfield doing and Aubrey Plaza. So you also write for TV. Did that sort of influence your casting?
A little. I mean, I did have experience writing on the television show Parenthood, and that's definitely where I met Jason Ritter and really felt like I really wanted him to be a part of this project, both because he's an incredible actor but also an incredible person, and I knew it would be really fun to work with him. When it came to some of the other actors, because we were making this small independent movie, I kind of thought that there's a lot of great talent on television, and a lot of people who are very talented and are very eager to sort of get a role that will show a different side of themselves. And I thought it was sort of like a Moneyball sort of situation where I could really poach some incredibly talented people who were just eager to be in a movie and to show a different side of themselves. And it also just worked out really well with our schedule, where we shot in the month of June, so it was this unique window that a lot of them had where their TV shows were on hiatus, and I was able to get these comic geniuses to do these roles that were a little bit different, and I felt so lucky.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last scene in the film, and I won't give anything away, but the last scene made me feel like this was coming from a personal place from you, and it's about friends in college, which I, from personal experience, agree that they are later in life, you're still your closest friends in many ways. So how did this story, was it sort of birthed out of a really personal experience?
The events themselves are fictional, kind of mercifully, so none of the horrible things did happen. So
you're not Alex, thank God.
I'm not Alex. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm really anyone in particular, but it was in many ways definitely informed by a very close group of college friends that I myself made when I was an undergrad, and the ways in which we've really tried to maintain those bonds over the years, and how that sort of becomes increasingly difficult as we grow up and take on jobs and move to different cities and partner up with spouses or people of the sort. It just becomes an increasingly uphill battle, but we've made great efforts among my own friends, and it's just a question that interested me, especially when it comes to the sort of forms of social media that are available to us now, and what opportunities they afford us to stay in better touch, but also what things they sometimes obscure.
Mm-hmm. So Max Greenfield's character is writing this dissertation about social media and the what is it you're going to say better than the biological?
I don't even remember. I remember. He was writing. He's writing about what might be the future of biography now that we have such a paper trail that we all leave now, whether it's our Gmail accounts or our Facebook pages or whatnot. I had talked to someone once who said that the problem of biographers in the future will not be finding information, but sorting through all the information that's available to them. And that was sort of the idea I had that he was writing about.
He says, I would never read my dissertation. And I was like, I'd read that. I was like, I'll sit down and read that. But it is an interesting point to make that people think that they know each other because of what they present of themselves through social media. So tell me about how you sort of went about exploring that, but in a very personal, human way.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm on most of the various forms of social media, and it is an amazing tool to stay in touch with people. I have friends that I've reconnected with from when I was 5 or 10 or 20 or summer camp or who knows, and it's this thing that we have, this tool that never existed at any point in history, and I find it to be kind of incredible. But the other thing about it that's interesting is that we all tend to sort of present a certain version of ourselves on these things, and occasionally that version is a little bit less than truthful. And I was just interested in exploring this sort of question broadly about what these new technology does to our relationships and how it influences them. And I don't know if there's a really clear answer, but I think that's why it attracted me. I like to make movies about things that are just kind of fascinate me and don't really have a clear answer. I didn't mean to make the movie to rail against Facebook or to glorify it. It's more just a fact of life that we all deal with now, and I was interested in exploring it.
And to me, I found it sort of comforting because personally, I think anyone has people that they see sort of an image of what they are and they idolize that. And then to see all these characters who I'm sure present this outward image really broken down and raw and vulnerable, it was like, oh, well, they're crazy too. I'm good.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I'm glad you felt that way. I feel like that is something that the journey that the characters themselves go on. They come there and they all have hang-ups from their relationships with these people and a certain version of themselves that they want to show to each other. Even with your friends, we tend to occupy these roles within a group, and we tend to even still want to present a certain version of ourselves. But yeah, they all come there with at least one thing, one either grudge or pain or something that they're nursing. And I think being exposed to each other's flaws does help them sort of come and accept and get over their own problems. And I do like to think that the way that this weekend sort of broke down some of those facades actually helped them all sort of get past certain things in their lives and grow up in certain ways.
And even though, anyone watching this interview would be like, God, this movie sounds so deep and depressing, but it's not. It's hilarious. And talking with Max earlier, he was saying that there are moments that you guys sort of discovered together, because he brings this sort of dry asshole humor that is just absolutely hilarious, that brings Bruce Springsteen comments, like stuff like that. So tell me about sort of working with these genius comedians, as you put it, and as a director, keeping your script, but then also bringing their own voice to life.
It was a really interesting and great process, and I think what we ended up with is this interesting hybrid that is something I enjoy far more than the script itself. And the script always had a certain dark humor surrounding some of these issues that are a little taboo to joke about, and I think it produces a sort of uncomfortable but funny sort of atmosphere, especially in the first half of the movie. But I'm just really happy I wasn't, one of these first-time writer-directors that was a little too attached to every word that I'd written and didn't really give Max and Aubrey and Jason and other people the freedom to roam a little bit, because I think it did two things. One, I think allowing the whole cast to improvise and riff, especially at the beginning and end of scenes, just sort of tried to sort of help build an intimacy among the characters that was so important to sell the fact that they're all good friends. And the second thing being that, as we talked about, some of those jokes are mine. Some of them we just came to at the moment with Max. And
what about the shiny shoes?
The shiny shoes were always a big part of it. Those were there the whole time. But a few of the other jokes were things that Max just came to in the moment, and I'm so glad I gave him the freedom to do so.
Well, there's a line in the script that stuck out to me, and I thought it was really at the crux of what you were exploring, and I personally related. When Nate's character says, it's always been about my writing. And I think that that's a problem for artists and people in general, but artists in particular. And you are a writer, so I sort of felt maybe that was your voice coming through, where a character's greatest fault is also his really only road to redemption. So tell me sort of about that issue.
So yeah, Nate is the writer of the group, and in that way I guess we have some similarities. And he's going through this moment where he can't write, and it's something that I think he feels a lot of guilt and shame and confusion about that fact, because it became so much a part of his identity that it's very strange and shameful that he can't do it now, and he doesn't want to tell other people that, because he feels that maybe even some part of their own love and acceptance came from this ability that he had. But as in a lot of things, he perhaps finds a lot of bad things happen, but sometimes out of that good writing emerges, and I know that from my own life, and it was also true for him.
Well, thank you so much.